Hi, I'm Joanne Lee Cornish, body composition coach and slightly obsessed with being an outlier in midlife and beyond. I offer one-on-one coaching. I have 7 group coaching programs that I run throughout the year, and I also have a 10-month mentorship program. You can find out all about those and a lot more at my website, joannelee.com. Okay, let's get on with this podcast. Hey there, I thought I'd do one final video for 2025. Excuse the hair and everything. I just got out the hot tub. I just had the idea to do it. And I actually had the idea this morning, and the idea came from something I read. It was a one-liner that I read, and it kind of sums up everything that I do. And I think it might be helpful. So the one line is, overlearn so you don't have to overthink. And I heard that and I was just like, wow, that's exactly what I do. Think about all the things that bring you anxiety, all the things that we spend too much time thinking about. It's usually things that we don't understand. It's usually things that we're questioning and we're wondering about and we're getting different opinions on. And so I just love that. Overlearn so you don't have to overthink. I mean, I don't overthink about my training. I don't overthink about my body composition. I don't overthink about my nutrition because I am so overlearned that I don't have to. It's not that I don't consider other things or the protocols, but I don't have to overthink them because I have the knowledge to base decisions on. I thought, that's just, it's very appropriate for something else I'm studying in my life, but I thought I would share with you. So I think that's going to be my motto for 2026. Overlearn so you don't have to overthink. Because, my whole thing is getting rid of anxiety and bringing ease and a joy to whatever you're trying to achieve. That's my whole thing. And I want you to think, as we go into 2026, I'd like you to think of this analogy, because I can't finish the year without an analogy. So the analogy is the monkey bars. Like the monkey bars on Santa Monica Beach or on a lot of beaches where you hang from one ring and you swing to the other and grab the next one, you grab the next one, you grab the next one. Well, how do you get from one end to another? Well, you let go of one ring and you grab the next. And there's that moment that you're swinging, right, to the next monkey bar. Well, that is also a metaphor for life. And the thing is, you can't get to the end of the monkey bar unless you let go of the ring. So another thing I'd have you consider going into the new year is, what ring are you keeping hold of so you can't swing to the next? What behavior, what identity, what action is stopping you swinging from the next? And are you spending time just going backwards and forwards and you can't quite figure out why? Because you haven't let go of one of the monkey bars. And why not? Maybe you're fearful that you'll make it to the next one. Maybe you're that uncomfortable swing in between, but it is keeping you stuck. So I've got to link this with my Victory Vault program, which is coming up, which starts on January the 26th. It's only a 2-week program, but this is exactly, when I heard that comment, this is exactly what I do in Victory Vault. I mean, the whole thing about Victory Vault is, so it's a 2-week program, and I think there's 7 Zooms in it, a lot of coaching, there's homework, but it is about identifying what you want for the year, being very clear about it, being very clear about how would you feel about yourself if you achieved this thing you want to achieve. What problems would it raise for your life if you achieved this one thing? And then in the Victory Vault, what we do is we take a close look at ourselves, we do an assessment of ourselves, we take ourselves apart layer by layer, identifying everything and then piecing it back together through, I think there's about 16 different classes to become the person that we need to be in order to achieve the goals. So you don't have to have a goal to come into Victory Vault, but it is, I was talking to my friend about this and she was actually talking to me about it and she can't wait to start and said it was the best thing she's done the last 2 years. And I said, how would you describe the Victory Vault? I said, because I'm having a tough time actually coming up with like the 30-second elevator speech about what it is. And we both had a tough time. And the best I can come up with is it's a real ugly look at ourselves that brings us at the end of the victory vault, the end of the 2 weeks, there's a written agreement that you have written. You have written based on the observations that you have made. So it's literally you're an agreement to yourself that you have made based on the analysis that you have made of yourself. It's a pretty cool program. And I would love to you to join. Only comes around once a year. It's at the beginning of the year. Um, Homework you can keep or you can share with me, you can share with the group, up to you. But we start on January the 26th, and that is yourvictoryvault.com. So maybe when you were listening to this, we're going into the end of the year. Um, you might be thinking, that a lot of the things you want to achieve is why do they feel so hard? You know, why you might start on a goal or a training or a program, and you've started and you're showing up and you just, God, this is still so hard. If we talk about body composition, maybe you're eating better, you're moving more, you're trying to be more intentional, sorry, and yet it still feels like it's taking a lot of effort. And if you're anything like most people, that effort starts to feel like a warning sign. Maybe this is unsustainable. Like maybe you're about to fail again. So today I just want to talk a little bit about reframing that completely, because the truth is that the moment that most people quit is usually the moment that they're closest to things getting easier. And that's not just mind stuff, nonsense. That's neuroscience, that's physiology, that's habit research. And what they call it the habit curve. And this is also a sneak peek out of the victory vault. So the habit curve is a concept that's described in a really awesome book called The One Thing, amazing book. And the thing I love about it is because it explains something that most people experience but don't have the language to explain. It's called the power curve of habit formation. So early on, you're trying to create this new habit, this new behavior. And at the beginning, effort is high. Results feel somewhat inconsistent, and everything is requiring a conscious decision making. So you're starting out and you have to remind yourself you do it, and you have to will yourself to do it. And the results are kind of spotty and not quite, jiving. And that's normal. So your brain and your body are using active energy to override old patterns. So the old patterns are pretty easy, but now we have to use active energy to override those old patterns. We have to remind ourselves to do it. We have to set alarms. So that's the beginning, and I think most people kind of expect that. And then it comes to the middle phase, and this is where people get confused. Um, the habit isn't new anymore. You're still doing it. The excitement has worn off. You're kind of wondering why you started in the first place, but it's still taking a lot of effort. A lot of you can recognize that. So you're doing it. So at the beginning of the year, see people are still going to the gym. Said I'd go to the gym 4 times a week. I'm still going to the gym, and not too excited about it anymore. I was when I started. I was, yeah, I'm going to rock this place, and not too excited anymore. But the effort is still hard. This hasn't become easier. It's still taking a lot of effort. The effort hasn't dropped off yet. So when people get into this middle part of the curve of habit formation, they start having thoughts like, if this was really working, it would feel easier by now. Why is this still so difficult? Why am I still doing this? The results aren't that great. The excitement's worn off and the effort is still high. But here's the thing. The effort involved in this habit formation doesn't decrease gradually. It drops suddenly. And it does that right near the end. So it's not this subtle, like, oh, this was a bit easier. Oh, this was a bit easier. It's sudden. And most people miss out on it because they quit too soon. So the research shows that The research shows that the point where behavior runs with minimal effort, so where the habit's really going and you really don't have to think about it, and that's when people are about 90 to 95% of the way through the habit building curve. Not halfway through, certainly not the beginning, not even 70% there, but right near the end, they're like 90, they don't realize it, but they're 90 to 95% of that habit forming curve where they are, that habit is golden right at the end, and the effort it takes suddenly drops off. Well, I think we can admit most people quit way, way, way before then. But maybe just knowing that can help keep you going when it's still feeling difficult. So it really happens right near the end. So what is it? Why does your brain resist before it relents? So let's talk about why this happens. Your brain is an efficiency machine. It loves what's familiar, not what's better. It loves what's familiar, and it really dislikes change. Okay, so when you change habits, your brain initially goes into monitoring mode. So what I mean by that, there's this conscious decision making, there's the self-control, there's the active inhibition of old patterns. So, and this is all, think about it, what it involves for the brain, and it's conscious decision making. These habits aren't just happening, you're consciously making a decision every time you do it. It's taking self-control. There's other things you want to do. It's this active inhibition of old patterns. You're actively not doing the stuff you used to do. And this is really metabolically expensive. So the brain resists. It's like, it's not because the habit is wrong, it's because it hasn't yet been classified as safe and predictable by the brain. So what actually changes a habit into a habit isn't motivation. It's not some virtue that some people have got and some people haven't. It's repetition without renegotiation. Repetition without renegotiation. Once your brain sees that, wow, this behavior just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. No matter how much I resist it, it keeps happening. And then the brain's always like, well, I've survived so far. It's not really threatening the status quo over here. And the brain also, towards the end, it also starts recognizing, wow, this is producing predictable outcomes. And the brain loves anything that's predictable like that. So once the brain is recognizing, like, oh, wow, this habit, this behavior that keeps happening, that isn't hurting me, and wow, it's producing a predictable outcome, the brain downgrades the effort. And that's when people say, I don't know why, it suddenly just got so much easier. Nothing magical happened. You simply stayed at it long enough. But here's the brutal truth. Most people don't quit because they fail. Most people quit because things feel boring. And in the Victory Vault, I talk about boredom, because I think boredom and attention span is really important. So they don't quit because they fail. They quit because they start feeling boring. So the scale isn't dropping dramatically enough. Oh, they were going to build muscle, and I'm really not seeing that many results. The workouts just feel routine. Oh, they were fun at first, and now it's like, oh, I'm going there again, same thing. Food choices. At first you were all in, but now it kind of feels repetitive. I'm going to get my protein in, and now it's like, yeah, okay. And also life starts interrupting. So again, this is the energy that's used. Life starts interrupting. It's harder, or it feels harder. It takes a lot of effort to push out the interruptions that life will always throw at us. So the brain interprets boredom as this isn't working. So you're bored because maybe I'm talking about body composition here, but it could be anything. You could be learning a second language, you could be learning a musical instrument, you could be training for a new job. It could be anything. But when the results seem slow, maybe they seemed good at the beginning, but they seem slow. No, I mean, I guess the popular one right now is like building muscle, and I mean, there can't be anything slower than that. I mean. I mean, you've got to be in that one for the love of the game, because that is slow. So it's boring. That the outcome's boring. The results are boring. The work that's needed gets boring. I think we can all agree when we start something, first we're really excited, and then the study or whatever it else gets boring. The workload is repetitive. Maybe the workouts or food choices or the practice is repetitive. And life starts showing up. You see other things that you want to do. So the brain interprets this boredom as this doesn't work. Um, but what this boredom actually is a sign of stabilization. So the boredom is actually a sign of, let's talk about food. Blood sugar is regulating, routines are settling in, the nervous system is adapting. So it's not, although it's interpreted as boredom, it's actually, I prefer you to think of it as stabilization. And this is where the work is quietly paying off. But the reward system isn't screaming about it anymore. And because nobody really explains this phase, so you set yourself up with some goal or a program or an outcome you want to achieve. So a habit that you need, you were super excited about it. It was hard work, but you were diligent. And then that's all wearing off. That's all getting boring. The results aren't as much as you thought. Oh, life showing up, and nobody's explained this phase, sorry, which is actually a phase of stabilization. And that's when people bail. And that's the point right before the effort required drops off suddenly. So this is something I see constantly in coaching. I mean, if it's fat loss feels hardest before it feels super calm. I mean, I like to think the people that do my programs, and when I talk about the ease and the joy that I want people to get, this is what I'm talking about. When the effort needed drops off, it's the ease. It's the ease. Building muscle, oh, people are all excited and the workouts are great, they're all sore. And then, you're doing this forever. Eh, it kind of loses its excitement, But that's the thing. The training might feel heavy before it feels grounding. Nutrition feels restrictive before it feels just neutral. Most people expect the ease I'm talking about too early. But physiology doesn't work on motivation timelines like that. So your muscles adapt after repeated stimuli, your metabolism stabilizes after consistent intake, your appetite regulates after predictable fueling, and that all takes time. And this is when people say, I'm doing everything right, but it's just so hard. I'm still going to the gym, but so hard. My response is nearly always, good. That means that you're still in the process. You're not failing at it. You're still in the process. You're still in that habit formation curve. And I find that when I explain this to people, they can identify kind of where they are on the curve. And I'm like, so it's still requiring a lot of effort. It's still hard. It's boring. It's still requiring a lot of effort, but you're not broken. You're just not finished. The real goal isn't this sudden bout of discipline you get. It's the habit becomes a default behavior, a moment where you don't debate the action, you don't overthink the action, you don't need motivation to do the action. And it's not because you're stronger, but it's because the habit no longer costs you energy. And it doesn't come from intensity. It doesn't come from trying harder. It doesn't come from adding a day at the gym. It doesn't come from training heavier. It just comes from consistency that is held long enough. I hope this helped you as we're approaching the new year. And I really wanted to give you a taste of, of the victory vault. It's these sort of conversations, and like I say, we have dozens of them. It's these sort of conversations that we have and a lot of self-assessment that's so helpful in identifying who you need to be, what not just how you're going to behave, but who do you want to be? Who would you love to be? When it's written out, like I would love to be that person. That would bring me joy to be that person, and that person can achieve those goals. That's what the victory vault's about. I don't know, that certainly wasn't a 30-second elevator speech, was it, to try and describe the program? But I hope that gave you something to ponder, and I hope it's helpful in whatever maybe you're trying to achieve in 2026. And I just hope you all have something that you want to achieve in 2026. It doesn't have to be a goal, but there's got to be something that you're going into the new year like, man, I'm going to do that. I'm going to behave like that. We're going to achieve that. Something, yeah, something that it's not just you that benefits, because whenever you benefit, identify who else benefits. It's not just about you. And sometimes that helps as well. Happy New Year. Going to be awesome year. And I'm still going to go with that mantra for the whole year because it literally sums up everything I do. Overlearn so you don't have to overthink. And identify what is the monkey bar that you're keeping hold of. What is it? Maybe it's more than one. And what's so scary about letting go? Yourvictoryvault.com. I do hope you enjoyed this podcast. You can find me all over social. Just search my name, Joanne Lee Cornish, and of course my website, joannelee.com. Be sure to check out what program I have got right now. I'm sure to be running something. And remember, you can always contact me, joanne@joannelee.com. Until next time.